Om Hari Om. Om Brahmam Idam Purnamidam Purnamada Purnat Purnamaya Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om. Filled with Brahman, all we see. Filled with Brahman, all we see not. From out of Brahman floweth all, yet doth it remain the same. May that Brahman fill our hearts with his revelation. My subject this morning, stages of spiritual unfoldment. Spirituality has been defined as the unfoldment of divinity already within man. Not anything that comes from outside, but in every one of you there is that Brahman. In every one of you there is that Atman. Without his presence, you could not breathe, you could not live for a moment. This is not anything that the Hindus only say, or Vedantists only say, but if you go to the source of religion, for instance, Christ also says, the kingdom of God is within. But unfortunately, in the theology class, they define within means amidst. And this divinity that is within every one of us, this Atman or Brahman that is within every one of us, has to be unfolded. That is spirituality. To be unfolded means to be experienced. You have to have the vision, that experience of God, that experience of Brahman. That is the spiritual ideal. That is the one ideal of every human being. Now the Hindu idea of evolution also is that what is potential becomes kinetic. Nothing comes from outside. What is within you, that grows in evolution. Then Swamiji says, in the process, we find at the end of the journey through evolution, Christ, Buddha, Ramakrishna, Satchidananda Brahman. The worm, he says, the worm that crawls under your feet is the brother of the Nazarene. But of course here I would say a little differently. The avatar or divine incarnation is not a growth, but a descent of God. Christ descended as God, Ramakrishna descended as God and assumed the human form to show man how to ascend towards Godhead. There is one exception, Buddha. Buddha went through many lives and attained that avatarhood. You see, you and I, we can unfold that divinity, we can realize Brahman, but then we will not be avatars, divine incarnations. We will not be living again. When we attain that highest revelation, that highest unfoldment, that is what we call nirvikalpa, then ordinary people like us pass away. But Ramakrishna or his disciples, or Christ as his disciples, they could stay on. I have seen such examples. They attained nirvikalpa, and then again they came down. In St. Paul we read, "For in him, that is Christ, dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and ye are complete in him." In short, each one of us has to become complete in Godhead. That is attainment of perfection. Now, we have to attain a state when Vedas, scriptures are no scriptures. You cannot. What you can express, your deeds and expressions are, they are not adequate to your experience and realization. This I have seen in the life of Master. Thakur Sri Ramakrishna used to say, everything has been defiled through the lips of man. They have been uttered by the lips of man. The scriptures, the Vedas, the Bible, all scriptures are uttered by the lips of man, so they have been defiled. But there is one truth that has not been defiled, and that is the truth of God. At one time, Sri Ramakrishna's disciples sat around him and asked him, "Please tell us about that experience." Though they experienced later, but when they were young boys, young monks. Then Ramakrishna said, "I try, but the moment I try, I go into that." So who is there to express? And as I said, they are more than their deeds and their teachings. This I felt in the presence of my Master. What you teach us in silence could not be expressed. He could not express. He would look at us and smile. To come back to the theory of evolution that we have, what is potentially within each one of us is to be unfolded. The farmer irrigates the fields from a reservoir, does not have to fetch the water. Water already there. Open a sluice gate, open a sluice gate, or break down a dam, and the water flows through gravity. Similarly, perfection of divinity, every man's nature. You see, it is not that it has to be accomplished, Shankaracharya said, but it is already accomplished. Only You have to remove the barriers. Just think of that. You have already accomplished it. But there is a barrier there. And that barrier has to be removed, and then you will see, you will have the experience. What is that barrier? Ignorance. And ignorance, let me think, Christ also said something. The light shines in darkness, but the darkness comprehended not. See, that's it. The light is shining, but covered by darkness. That's why you don't see. We don't experience. Now, what is this ignorance? It has two phases. First, it covers the reality. The next creates something which does not exist. And what is that? Our ego. You see, it's a shadow of the Atman. Someday you will experience that. It's a shadow of the Atman. It has no reality. Just consider, who am I? What you are? Are you the physical man? Are you the mind? Are you the intellect? They're all changing. Are you the sum and substance of your character? That also has to change. They call personality in this country. But what is personality? Where lies personality? In the character? Then a thief might say he would not give up stealing because then he would lose his personality. It has no existence. We are holding on to the shadow. But of course, that shadow also very important. That ego is important. That ego has two characteristics. Unless there is ego, why should we come here? Unless there is ego, why should we meditate? Why should we think of God? So the ego has two aspects. Ego of knowledge and ego of ignorance. And hold on to the ego of knowledge. That is, let the ego turn towards God, meditating on God. And what is ego of ignorance? Oh, I must have so much money in the bank, I must have, like that, things like that, which pertains to your selfishness. Now again, what is the psychological process of unfoldment? How to unite ourselves with that Atman or Brahman. Now try to meditate and you will find that so many thoughts are coming. So it is said, control of the thought waves of the mind, or control of the mind. Then, as Arjuna said to Sri Krishna, that what you are saying is just like he said, wind is no wilder. Like wind, you want to control the wind. Then Sri Krishna says, true it is, but through practice, through habitual practice and patience and perseverance, you can gain control. So Patanjali, the great yogi, says, cultivate the power of concentration, thus to remove the obstacles to enlightenment which cause all our sufferings. Try again. My master gave me the illustration. Perhaps you were brought up in towns, cities, so you don't know, perhaps many of you. But there is a cow, he gave this example, and the calf is born. As the calf is born, the calf wants to get up, falls down. Wants to get up, falls down. Then runs a little, falls down. Runs a little more, falls down. Does he give up? It does not give up. Then at long last it begins to run. Same way. You struggle, but you fail and fail many times. But continue. Practice with perseverance. Then you gain control gradually. Sri Krishna says, in order to cultivate the power of concentration, 3 preliminary steps, no, not Sri Krishna, it is Patanjali. In order to cultivate the power of concentration, 3 preliminary steps are needed. What are those? Austerity, study, and the dedication of the fruits of one's work to God. Austerity, study, and the study of scriptures, of course. And then also I'll explain more. And the dedication of the fruits of work, one's work to God. You work and offer the fruits of the action to God. This is called Kriya Yoga, going towards union, the beginning. Now, what is austerity? Austerity in Sanskrit is called tapas. It's not that you practice something that be a vegetarian and lie on instead of bed on the ground and all that business. That is not austerity. But what is it? Conservation of energy and directing that energy towards God. In the Gita it says there are 3 kinds of austerity. Physical. What is this physical austerity? Straightforwardness, harmlessness, cleanliness, and purity. Of course, straightforwardness is to speak the truth, but not a harsh truth, as I shall explain. Then harmlessness, do not harm anybody. And cleanliness, of course there is physical cleanliness, which is very simple. And cleanliness of the mind, purity. What does it mean? Consider yourself that when you chant the name of the Lord, you are pure. Don't consider you have done some sins. There is no such thing as sin. I have taken the name of God, I become pure. And as Ramakrishna used to say, the rascal to translate his words in literally, the rascal who calls himself a sinner becomes a sinner. But one who calls himself pure, he becomes pure. Swamiji, in his address in Chicago, quoted from the Upanishads by saying, "Hear ye children of immortal bliss, and to call a man sinner is the greatest sin." Then austerity of speech, truthfulness, to speak without ever causing pain to another. You see, you are telling the truth, but if that truth hurts anybody, you are not following that teaching of harmlessness. So, Maharaj again and again said to me, "My master, speak the truth, but not a harsh truth." To say always what is kind, beneficial, and to study the scriptures regularly. Then austerity of the mind, serenity, sympathy, fixing our heart and mind in God, withdrawal of the mind from sense objects, and integrity of motive. What is study? Study of the scriptures is important. You have to go beyond scriptures, true, but before you go beyond, you have to study scriptures to keep your mind in higher things. And also study means to perform japa, to chant the name of the Lord. And dedication of the fruits of work means to practice karma yoga. Do everything. When you are cooking, when you are sweeping the floor, God lives there. You are cooking for God. And the effects give to Him. Now, what is God? How to concentrate? Brahman may be the chosen object, but it's very difficult. Because what is Brahman? We cannot describe. So how can you concentrate? So take one aspect of the divine incarnation. Either Ramakrishna or Christ or Buddha, anyone that appeals to you. And the progress comes according to intensity, middling or half-heartedly. Through the practice of concentration, you attain the state of meditation. And through long continuous practice of concentration, as taught by the Guru, you see, this is again something that you cannot do by yourself. You have to learn it from a Guru. Shankara pointed out 3 important things. Human birth, then desire for liberation, desire to find God, and then to have the grace of a Guru, of a teacher. Swamiji, in another word, pointed out how that truth is to be found within. After long searches here and there, in temples and in churches, in earths and in heaven, at last you come back, completing the circle from where you started, to your own soul, and find that He, for whom you have been seeking all over the world, for whom you have been weeping and praying in churches and temples, on whom you were looking as the mystery of mysteries, shrouded in the clouds, is nearest of the man. Is your own self the reality of your life, body and soul? Now again, stages come. First you realize that as you meditate, there comes a conviction that He is within. This conviction comes first. Now again, something starts up within yourself, and there comes a longing to have that vision. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, yearn for Him, weep. This comes after practice of concentration. You have to yearn for Him. Yearn for Him with a longing heart. Now again, ask yourself, when you are longing for God, is it for God or for something else? So again, be sincere at every step. So with a longing heart, yearn for God. But then comes constant recollectedness. Constant recollectedness. You may be doing things, going here and there, but a part of your mind is in God. Or you are chanting mentally the mantra what your Guru has given. This is the first stage, but very difficult to achieve. After that, all the steps become easier. Then, craving for sense pleasures become less and less. Ego becomes less assertive. Maharaj, my master, said to me, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like the tree. Take no honor to thyself. Give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. Then, absence of pain, outside or inside, causes do not disturb the equilibrium of your mind. You remain poised in the midst of the opposites of life. Now again, please understand, I'll give you an example. There was a disciple of disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Prabhavananda. And I had the good fortune to have his blessings also. I studied scriptures with him. And he had a carbuncle on his back. The surgeon, who was an atheist, he was asked to have surgery on his carbuncle. And he wanted to anesthetize him, but he refused to be anesthetized. Then he said, wait a minute, wait a few minutes. So he lifted his mind from the body, and for 3 hours, it took 3 hours to have that carbuncle removed. This surgeon, of course, was completely couldn't understand. So he became devoted to God. Then one day, Swami Turiyananda had a boil on his big toe. And this surgeon went and just operated on him suddenly. And Swami Turiyananda cried out. Then he said, Maharaj, I thought you could have that. Then he said, you didn't give me time to prepare myself. Then gradually, oh yes, Swami Prabhavananda taught me, Swami Prabhavananda, another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, taught me, hold on to the pillar, then go round and round. In India, as boys, we play that way. They said, hold on to God, everything will be all right. And then concentration ripens and becomes meditation. Then follows absorption of Samadhi. Now, what is this Samadhi? Samadhi is of two kinds. In the first way, the shadow of an ego, which I said, the shadow, ego is the Atman's shadow. You realize that. Who you are, where you are, what you are, you forget that. You have the vision and experience. Then in the highest Samadhi, that shadow also disappears. And what remains, words cannot express. And beyond, the thoughts compass. Then mind and nature have ended their service. And what is the next result? Karma and all its seeds are burnt. You see, Maharaj, my master, quoted the scriptures from the scripture. Vidyate hridaya granthis chiddante sarva samshaya tashyante tasmin karmani I forget. Anyway, the knot of ignorance is cut asunder. All these karmas, past, present, and are burnt. But in him who has seen him who is both far and near. And then you attain the bliss of a jivan mukta, while free while living. You live on, but you are a free soul. Then what do? Sir, you are engaged in doing good to others. asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya avirmaidhi rudrajatte dakshinam khang te namang pahi nityam. Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from death to dark, to immortality. Lead us from darkness to light. Light us through and through, and guide us evermore with thy loving presence. Om. Peace, peace, peace.